Good morning. I have such tremendous respect for the work of the Greater Boston Food Bank and for the team that gets it done. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here today. Although I admit, several times I considered gracefully backing out of my commitment to speak today. First of all, it is way too early in the morning, and I knew I would be really nervous. Today's topics are so close to my heart that I will probably get choked up. But I decided to have faith that together we can talk about what is hard, because I know that together we can make it better. If I had time, I'd tell you more about my childhood in inner city Baltimore, where my parents helped run a soup kitchen, and I saw daily the horrible impact of poverty. Those experiences shaped my decision to become a helper. Full of idealistic enthusiasm, I went off to college and got a degree in nonprofit management. I had a good life, a good education, good career, a great income as a consultant for nonprofit organizations in the Phoenix area. I had a new house, a husband, a baby, and another on the way. Those are the easy things to talk about. But we aren't here today to talk about the easy things. So I will share with you a story of poverty that I never expected to see, my own. My dream life fell apart. While pregnant with my second child, I began to realize that my marriage was emotionally unhealthy. We moved back to Massachusetts so that I could be closer to my parents. And after my son was born, my marriage got worse. Until one day things reached the breaking point, and I knew I needed to get out. I took my 4- and 2-year-old, 2 dogs, and a cat, and left for good. My timing could not have been worse. Does the year 2007 ring a bell to anyone? Yes, right at the beginning of the Great Recession. I found us a small apartment that I was just barely able to afford, and shortly after moving in, my consulting contract ended. I had no idea how impossible it would be for an educated woman to find a job. After a year, I was finally hired as a receptionist, making $10 an hour. Daycare for my children cost $12 an hour. I was making $90 less per hour than I had at my previous job. But I had to take it. It was something, a step towards something I hoped. During those years, we never had enough to eat. A package of 15 frozen chicken nuggets had to last us for 3 dinners. So each night I cooked 5 nuggets. My daughter and son would each get 2. The last nugget would sit in the middle of the table to wait and see who was the hungriest. My mom self would say out loud, "Wow, are you sure your bellies are full? Does anybody want that last chicken nugget?" While inside, my hungry self was silently praying, please be full, because I really want to have dinner too. And my kids would be trying to tell me stories about their day. And the only thought that was going through my head was, is anyone going to eat that chicken nugget? And that's when I started to explore food pantries. The one in my town was located in the same parking lot as my job, and I simply could not bring myself to go there under the eyes of my coworkers. I'm not sure why it feels so humiliating, but it does. Visiting a food pantry felt like admitting defeat. It felt like losing myself. I felt ashamed and sad and lost. But if we were to survive, we needed food. So I looked for other pantries. Many are only open 1 or 2 hours a week. It is difficult to describe to you the heartbreak when I finally made it to a pantry during its open hours and I was told to leave because I was not a resident of that town. I did find one pantry that welcomed me, and there was another woman there that first time I went. She was about my age, but thin and frail, and she got to the refrigerator ahead of me and took the very last carton of eggs. And I just stood there staring sadly at the empty dairy case, and this woman, a complete stranger in no better situation than my own, separated the carton into 2 so that we each could have 6 eggs. And I struggled to say thank you to her over my tears. She smiled and said in a soft and slightly tired voice, "There is enough to share." My emotional response was not just because of her generosity. It was because she reached a part of me that was dying of loneliness. Most people don't realize that it can take years to recover from a serious financial struggle. And during those years, friends slip away as you keep making excuses not to join them for an evening out that you can't afford. Or when they say, hey guys, let's just all pitch in $10 for Sally's bridal shower, and just $10 might as well be $1 million. You stop inviting your kids' friends over to play because if they ask for a snack, that's gonna use the last of your food. And so this begins to come off as unintentionally rude or just not interested. And when your son comes home in tears because someone told him his shoes look like they came out of a trash can, life feels even lonelier, and it starts to get harder to believe the words of comfort that you whisper to them as you hug them. It took me many years to get back on my feet. In fact, when I was hired at the Franklin Food Pantry in 2012, I was still struggling, but I was excited about what I hoped I could contribute there. And then I realized at first I couldn't even concentrate on my job because I was just too hungry, and I was surrounded by food. It was all I could think about. I tried to keep a composed demeanor to hide my situation. However, a kind older gentleman who was a veteran volunteer there had seen enough hungry souls to recognize the look in my eyes. One day, the pantry received a donation of fresh cinnamon bread. It smelled so good. I just couldn't stop looking at the bread. I hadn't had dinner the night before or breakfast that morning, and I think my stomach was growling so loudly that he could hear it while we were talking. Later, when I went back to my desk, there was a loaf of cinnamon bread left on my chair. I hid it in my desk drawer as if I had just been given a stack of $10,000 bills, and when no one was looking, I devoured 2 pieces of bread without even breathing. And it wasn't just the food that caught my eye. That week's delivery contained cases of toilet paper. Did you know that when we surveyed our clients at the pantry, the most desired non-food item is toilet paper? Did you know that people are not allowed to purchase toilet paper, feminine products, laundry detergent, shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, or hand soap with food stamps, which are now referred to as SNAP? When I was really struggling, free napkins became my best friends. I learned to walk into a fast food restaurant and pretend to be a customer and leave with a giant stack of free napkins. And those napkins became the sandwich bags that I wrapped my son's snacks in for school. They became paper towels, coloring pages for the kids, tissues, toilet paper, baby wipes. And yes, I relied on them for feminine pads as well. And I was thankful that my daughter had not reached puberty yet, because what on earth would I do? Hand her a stack of Dunkin' Donuts napkins and say good luck? More people than you can possibly imagine face that very, very humbling reality every day. I realize that this may be too much information. My intent is not to embarrass myself up here or make anyone uncomfortable. I just want to make sure that with this incredible opportunity that I have to speak to you today, I overcome my own fears and embarrassment enough to voice the issues that thousands of women need you to hear. This is not just happening in far-off countries or crime-ridden cities. Families are hungry and living in conditions that are unhealthy and deteriorate mind, body, spirit, and dignity. This is happening to our friends, our neighbors, people living right beside us. This happened to me here. It doesn't have to be that way. Together, we have the ability to help change things right now. With every meal that we put on someone's table, we afford them the luxury of a few dollars to spend on toilet paper, a few moments to hear their children's questions over the sound of their growling stomach. We offer an opportunity to focus on a new job. We offer hope. I can never repay the countless acts of kindness that helped me through my dark years. Instead, I make every effort to pay it forward through my actions to help others, and not because of an idealistic notion of what good people should do, but for the very simple truth that I learned in a food pantry, that even when things seem darkest, there is indeed enough to share. So on behalf of every person who can't be here to say it to you in person, thank you. Thank you for listening and for sharing as much as you can today.